Welcome to Strategic Influence. This is how brands position, monetize, and scale through social media. I am your host today, Amena K. I go by on social, as you can see here on this slide here. So if you're following me already or you're just now finding me, welcome. I put together this to walk you through how to essentially line up your brand to reach the right audience. So, we're going to cover a number of different topics today. Sit tight and let's get started. So, this is what we're looking at today. This is our table of contents. So, you can go ahead and check out all the things we're covering. I don't know how long it's going to take to get through this, but some slides go a little bit faster than others. I'll let you read through these. And then we'll move on to the next slide here. Essentially, we are going to be talking about why it's important to identify who you are as a brand so you can put out the right content to see the results and what that looks like. So, why influence is a business asset, not a marketing tactic here. Okay. So, we're going to like de influence you here through this as well. So, the most valuable brands in the world are not technology, not just technology companies. They are influence driven ecosystems. And this is with every single brand. Okay, a personal brand, a business brand, all brands use this. Okay, and I just need to get you to understand today why this is so important and it's not just a marketing tactic. So they invest billions not simply to reach but to position, in perception, and in continuality. Social media is no longer about just posting content, okay? It's about controlling narrative, demand, and trust at scale. You can reach the globe now. This training is not designed to teach you how to use social media. You should already be using social media. But if you're not, you're going to learn a lot here to put you on the right path. It is designed to show you how modern brands convert visibility into predictable revenue and long term leverage. That is the real result we're going for, building a real solid brand foundation. If you're building a brand, a company, or an asset that must scale beyond your time, influence is no longer just optionable. Okay. So, what this training will clarify, here are the key takeaways from what we're going to be learning here today. How high performing brands position themselves to attract demand without chasing leads, how it's different between visibility and influence, and why most brands actually plateau in this level, how to structure content so it supports revenue, not just engagement. Again, we're building a brand, we're building a business. We're not just getting likes, right? We're not just getting comments. It doesn't those don't matter. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later. Why most social strategies fail to convert at scale. Again, if you're building on the wrong framework, none of this will work for long. And none of the stuff that you're hearing or people tell you what's important. We got to look at the real foundations of business here. So the framework we use to turn attention into predictable opportunities. Again, this is not a content tutorial. This is about positioning and monetizing the framework, which is social media. You can even say it's just brand alignment entirely on your whole online ecosystem. So here am I. I am Amena. I go by Amena K online. I build brands that turn influence into enterprise, and I've been doing this quite a long time, which I'll tell you more about me later. So I built and scaled and exited online businesses, okay, over and over and over again for many years now. So the core truth to all this is you need to grab attention, but not just any attention, okay? You need to grab attention with a strategy, okay? Because without a strategy, it will not create wealth. It will not create a solid foundation, okay? So this works when you are building your brand to earn other people's trust, okay? Get their attention and not burn out by making, this content. You don't need to chase trends. We're not talking about theory here. We're talking about real life business execution. Okay. And I've been doing this for a long time now. So, more on my story. I didn't build success by going viral. I built it by understanding positioning, systems, and buyer psychology across multiple ventures. The patterns always stayed the same. Brands that clearly communicate, even without a massive audience, is an actual brand that's sustainable. Okay. I created a framework to help business owners stop guessing, stop chasing visibility, and start building long term leverage. Okay, so section one, why influence is the most undervalued business asset. Influence isn't just popularity, it is the ability to shape perception, trust, and demand at scale. Most businesses underestimate influence because it doesn't appear on a bank sheet. Yet it directly impacts revenue, partnerships, and validation. Brands that understand influence as an asset don't chase attention, they compound it. This is why social media, when used strategically, becomes one of the highest leverage tools a business can own. It's actually the foundation to all businesses, but for some reason, people forget it when they come online. But we're going to clear up that. This is going to help you across your whole business foundation. Two types of brands on social media, okay? And only one scales without dependency on the founder. This is so important to actually build toward the business brand. And so I broke it down here. Why is this? So if you're running your current brand as a personal brand, then it's built around you, the individual. This is influencers. These are, you can say, online entrepreneurs. These are people that work for themselves, okay? It takes their output to create the results. Growth is held and tied directly to the personality, presence, and constant output of the personal brand. This strengthens relatability and it definitely gives you more attention faster. The limitations on this, it's difficult to scale beyond the individual, and the revenue depends on continued visibility. It's also hard to sell anything, to delegate, or to exit. A business brand. Now, business brands, if you have one, it's not just you, right? You're building it through a system, a mission, or an offer. The growth compounds through clarity, positioning, and repeatable messages or messaging. The strengths are scalability and transferability. They can operate without constant founder presence, which is very important. It's easier to build teams, partnerships, and long term equity. The key distinction here is business brands turn influence into infrastructure. Okay. So business brands have a system where it grows all together. It's a little ecosystem, right? In itself. A personal brand, the ecosystem is the person. That's the key differences. So here we go in section two. We're going to talk about the two types of brands on social media and why one always fails. So, what is the difference and why this actually matters? Well, viewers, followers, and buyers are not the same. Okay. Viewers are people who actually see your content, right? Followers are people who choose to stay and they can consistently engage, like the post, comments. But buyers are the people who are trusting your positioning, you're building trust. And like literally like 99.9% of your buyers will not be your consistent followers or your consistent viewers because buyers look at your content differently. Okay. So most brands are focusing on growing viewers and followers, and this is a problem. There's very few that are designing their content that creates buyers. The difference is not volume here. In fact, volume is hurting you. It's intention, it's messaging, and it's clarity. Strategic content attracts attention with a purpose, not noise. Think of luxury brands, okay? You are building toward an actual buyer. Okay. So the attention to buyer path, how content actually creates demand. Number one, attention earned through clarity, contrast, and relevance, not trends, not volume, retention, built by consistent messaging and trust signals. People stay when they understand what you stand for. And conversion, this happens when the brand is positioned as the obvious next step. There is no pressure required here. You're not selling at this level. Content should move people forward, not just keep them watching. We do not need more watchers. We do not need more followers. We need more buyers. We need to gain trust faster. So, section 3, turning visibility into revenue without chasing clients. Why chasing fails and positioning converts. Remember, businesses are based on numbers. That's it. If you're not turning the revenue, then you're not an actual functioning business. So, revenue follows clarity, not pressure. Most people are taught to sell by asking, pushing, or reminding. High converting brands do not chase. If you want to be a luxury brand, if you want luxury pricing, if you want consistent buyers, then you must learn how to position yourself. When your content clearly communicates who's it for, what's the problem it solves, and why you're the obvious choice, the right people will move and actually buy from you. That is the goal here. Call to action should feel like a natural next step, not a request for attention, not to seek a validation. Scarcity is not a filter. Scarcity is a filter, not a tactic. Okay. So when we talk about scarcity, what is scarcity? Well, true scarcity protects your time and your client's outcomes. That's what scarcity should be. Scarcity should not be about pressure. Not like, oh, if you buy it now, then you're gonna if you don't buy it now, you're gonna miss out on this deal. We don't talk about deals here. We don't talk about like incentives. The incentives is the fact that they have access to your product and your brand and they're getting what they want. That is that is correct branding. That is correct positioning. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to downgrade your service. If you have to downgrade your service or you have to convince them they're not the right client because you did not do the right positioning, okay? This is about capacity. High level brands limit access to protect results, maintain quality, avoid misalignment. When scarcity is real, it feels calm, not hectic. The right clients don't need to be rushed. They self select when the timing is aligned. And then everything becomes easier for you and the client. Okay. Incentives should increase commitment, not discount it. The goal is momentum, not motivation. Incentives should reward readiness, not convince hesitation. Aligned incentives support decision making, deepen engagement, and move clients closer to implementation. If someone needs to be talked into buying, then they're not your client. Example, a private onboarding call. a fast action implementation bonus, and early access to strategic support. You see how those examples didn't say discount, didn't say buy now to get in. They are aligned because all your content is supported toward that. Okay. So, totally different way of showing up as a brand here. Section 4, the system, how we position brands to scale. Positioning before performance. Why growth only scales when structure comes first. Most brands try to grow by doing more content, more platforms, more effort, and there's constantly hustling and growing and doing things. And you're spending lots and lots of money by hiring more help, by hiring, different or buying different SaaS programs to cover different things. And you don't do that when you're aligned. You don't need that, okay? Because high performing brands grow by designing structure first. Positioning determines who your content attracts, how trust compounds, where revenue naturally flows. Without structure, performance just creates noise. With structure, performance creates leverage. This gives you message clarity, what you stand for and who's it for. Offer architecture, how value is presented and access. Demand alignment, that's your content that creates pull, not persuasion. Conversion pathways, that is the next steps that feel obvious, not forced. With this system, it allows brands to scale without burnout or without chasing clients. Section 5, what this looks like in practice. This is not tactics, it's not templates, it is strategic positioning applied to real brands, okay? We're talking about real business here. This work doesn't start with content calendars or posting frequently, okay? It starts with identifying where influence is leaking, where you're spending time, where you're burning just to feel busy, right? And redesign with how attention, trust, and demand actually flow into your brand. Every engagement is tailored to the brand's stage, goals, and capacity. What stays consistent is the system. We need to say the system stays consistent, okay? Not the posting frequency. All right? Got that? So not the surface execution here. We're talking about the system. So what does this look like? Okay, this is our process. So, first things first, strategic evaluation. We assess where your brand is. Okay. That's the first thing that you're going to do. You're going to assess where you currently are. Where is your messaging? What is being done currently? Okay. Because this needs to be refined. Things need to be removed. You might have to like start a new social page even. So you need to understand what's going on now, okay? And then step 2, you need to learn how to position. So we're going to teach alignment. We're teaching alignment in messaging, positioning, and presence. So your audience understands your value without persuading them, okay? This creates clarity, trust, and demand, all right? And then number 3 here, you need to learn to implement and scale what you decide this direction is. Because now it's going to be easy. Now it's a decision, not a guess. At this stage, brands choose whether to implement internally or bring in support. Okay, now you get a clear guideline where you can track data and you can build strategically, just like every other external, like off online business does. Now we're just bringing that online. We're telling you a system to follow, so now you can bring it onto the online world through social media. And like I said, you can even use this in writing articles and your PR, like everything. This is your whole digital like blueprint as a brand. This is the new foundation. Let's see. So how the system was built. Okay, I started back in 2000 online fully. Okay, so when at that time I was building digital systems. I was early adopter of online technology. I built in all kinds of programming languages back then. Websites literally didn't exist. There was no Google, no YouTube, no social media. There was barely any like emails and everything else. Everything was still being built. I was there at the very beginning, building in those foundations. I was building websites. I was, learning digital monetization on scale with our little ads that we were doing back then. They weren't so little, but pretty much all controlled by Google back then. Yeah, Google AdSense. I was recognizing long-term patterns. I was executing. And 2008 was the next big jump. That's when I've already scaled multiple businesses. I even exited a multi-million dollar one that I co-founded and built from the ground up. That was in the wedding industry. Then I also managed multiple other online brands at the same time. Again, all built from scratch, all online. Then I partnered with major platforms and brands. I've worked with pretty much all of them, I think, by now. And then I learned how to repeat growth and repeat the operating system to build into the next phase. So the next phase, 2018, rebuilt leverage through social media. So finally embraced social media. At that time, I wasn't using it. I didn't need it. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure out the social media. I'm gonna, figure out how to build from zero without any audience and master this. Okay. So I used all the platforms, every social media platform, even the lesser known ones. I built pages, I studied it. I've, invested a lot of time in different niches and different strategies, and I've tried it all. Now I know exactly what works, right? So I built at that time an internal framework for myself to coach my team. And then I learned how to, of course, turn that into strategy that turned visibility into a skill, not dependency. And then come up to just last year that we just happened, 2025. I designed and built multi-brand ecosystems across all social platforms. We have a tons of different niche accounts. We've got tons of different influencers and influencer accounts. So in building that, I applied the same positioning. I use the same systems. And I have now helped, or my team as well, we have now helped over 2,500 brands clarify, position, and scale online using social media and our strategies. We've reached over a million people. We've reached over a million people monthly and generated seven-figure brand revenue for brands. So, our results since September 2022, we've helped 2,500 plus brands turn visibility into revenue. This is across creators, founders, and growing businesses at multiple stages of scale. This is through influencer marketing, campaigns, user generated content, product launches, live streams, and strategic brand positioning. The key principles to take away here is strategy, positioning before you scale. Again, you got to have a solid foundation. Brand integrity maintained across the growth phases. Very important here. Systems that support both DIY and DFY execution. And remember, you don't do it all on your own. Once you have that foundation, you just keep repeating. Then we have support models aligned to stage, not pressure or volume. Okay. So again, we are building on frameworks here. If you're serious about brand alignment and execution, then go ahead and scan the QR code here right now to apply. We will review your application and get back to you. Thank you guys so much for watching today's webinar, and I wish you all the best and brightest 2026. Take care.